All right, folks, and I'm back. And, with the elections and all the nonsense that's been going on surrounding the elections, sometimes we gotta laugh at our pain. And I decided to keep this segment a little bit light and something that I actually like to do with some of my friends from time to time. And I'm pretty sure most of you all are familiar with it. So for people who don't know, when you really start to get into firearms, what you tend to start doing is kind of thinking about different scenarios that could take place and the different type of platforms and guns that you would choose if you were stuck in these scenarios. Now, these are essentially delusions of grandeur in many ways, but nonetheless, things that could actually happen. And this really only sits well with gun geeks because for us, it's like we get to pick and choose between different guns and situations that normally we wouldn't even really be thinking about. So I brought one of my good friends here who's probably going to try to take over my show here like he usually does, Mr. Colion LaSorte, to join me here. I think we've kind of had this conversation before. We never really kind of finished it.
We've had it a few times for sure, but we never finish it because we get sidetracked by some inconsequential detail. So let's try to stay general this time.
And then usually I'm always changing what I decide to do and not do, right?
Right.
So I want to start off.
Call you Butterfly.
Don't call me Butterfly again. So yesterday was another episode of The Walking Dead. And, it was a pretty good episode. I'm kind of starting to feel Negan a little bit. Pretty cool. But in a Walking Dead scenario, we're talking about a zombie apocalypse. If you had your choice of only a rifle and a handgun in your current possession, what would they be and why?
Yeah, for me, so it would be an M&P 22 rifle. Mm-hmm. So, because it's just headshots. You don't have to worry about particular stopping power or anything. And you can carry like 5,000, 10,000 rounds of ammunition. It's not going to break your back. So to me, the M&P 22 rifle, we're both a fan of that gun, as a lot of people know. And then it would be the XDM, Springfield XDM, because it's like a 20-round pistol and it's not awkward, and you can carry it. Concealment during Walking Dead is not essential. I don't think anybody actually ever carries a gun concealed in that movie because you really just don't need to.
Yeah, no.
So those are my two guns.
Okay. Yeah, man, that was boring. I'm going to have to go with my Scar 17, only because I think it'd be more fun. I don't know, something about a 22 that's just too practical and reasonable. I feel like I need something that's
used that before.
No, in all honesty, let me see. What would I go with from a rifle perspective? I probably would do. Got it. I'd probably do the God dog it. I forgot what it was. the LVOA from Warsport. Yeah, okay. I'll do the LVOA from Warsport. I don't know. I feel you on the 22, especially with the rounds being lighter. But I think we're kind of mincing hairs here when we start talking about the 5.56 and the 2.23, and then the actual 22 long rifle. Sure. So I'd probably go the LVOA from Warsport, and then as far as handgun, I'd go trusty dusty Glock 17.
It's always about sexy for you. I know the Glock 17 isn't necessarily the sexiest guns these days, but back in the day, I actually remember when it was introduced. Mm-hmm. I know that's hard for you to believe. Well, maybe it's not. No, but I remember it being the sexiest gun possible. I remember seeing it on the front of a couple magazines and lusting after it. Now, it's funny because the Glock 17 is
seen as the ugly duckling. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a VP9. It's not some of the other stuff that's out there that's kind of sexy and looks good. But what's funny is back in the day, the Glock 17 is still was king of sexy. And to me, it still kind of is, even though you think of it as being the most practical thing out there.
Well, yeah, I think like I said before, I kind of clowned you about your selection of the MP22. Yeah. It's practical, it's reasonable. So therefore it lacks a certain level of inherent sexiness.
Right.
And because clearly my biggest focus when I'm in a zombie apocalypse is looking sexy.
Well, that was pretty apparent based upon your choices, but especially rifle. But yeah, for me, it's just that M&P 22 just works, man. I don't know how many rounds I have through mine. I use a silencer co-suppressor on it and shoot subsonic and all kinds of stuff. I don't know that I've ever had a malfunction. When 10 years ago, 5 years ago, if you ever said you'd have a semi-automatic 22 rifle or handgun these days, that wouldn't malfunction, it'd be impossible.
Yours hasn't malfunctioned?
Mine doesn't. No. So am I lucky? Maybe.
You are lucky. Now, granted, a big portion of that would probably be due to my ammo selection because I choose the dirtiest and cheapest ammo possible.
That's right.
That would concern me, though, about the 22 is just how dirty and fouled up it gets.
Well, good point. I would have a cleaning kit. I know you don't know what one is.
Yeah.
And that's another issue that goes along with the reliability issues.
That's what you were for. That's why I let you borrow my guns, because I know you're so ADD, not ADD, you're so anal about stuff. I know you'll just end up cleaning them for me.
I knew you had a reason.
Yeah.
I knew you had a reason. It all makes sense now. But one thing I'll tell you about semi-automatic 22s that I've learned is that copper-coated ammo, I don't think it's something that's, just imagined, does seem to be better when it comes to barrel fouling, because you end up shooting a lot of ammo through those guns, and you end up getting keyholes and stuff like I've had out of some other 22 guns, because you get so much lead buildup in the barrel. The copper-coated bullets really do seem to make a difference. So if anybody's having trouble with their guns out there, they might want to try that stuff.
Gotcha.
That Federal 710 is golden. So, all right, what's the next situation?
Next situation is a Book of Eli. We're talking end of days, a lot of sand, a lot of dust, a lot of storms, low visibility, you name it.
I know your rifle choice isn't going to be the same as the last one.
Nah, it'll be a little different.
For me, and I think we might have the same one here, but I don't know. AK-74 is my rifle.
Okay.
Again, going back to the light ammo, but still very effective, and guns that just will always run, because you're not going to find a good gunsmith end of days scenario. So AK-74 runs forever under the worst conditions, accurate as can be, easy to shoot. And then it's going to be a Glock 17 for me. So kind of your last gun, but to me, Glock 17 for all the same reasons regarding the rifle.
Okay. I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go with my my Arsenal AK-47. Not Arsenal. I'm sorry. My Rifle Dynamic AK-47.
So the 47, not the 74. I'm a little disappointed, but okay.
Yeah.
That's your ammo.
Yeah, I'd go with that. And then as far as my handgun, I think I'd probably end up going with the HK-45. Only just that's just kind of my ode to the actual character in the movie carrying the HK-45, which would be Denzel Washington. So 45, 7.62, you know how it goes.
All of your reasons are so practical, so logical, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
no heart in them whatsoever.
I mean, what's cooler than being in a dust storm and shooting an HK-45?
I mean, that's probably true. Yeah. I could see that. I've probably been there actually in Arizona a couple of times. I just can't remember that far back when I used to live in Arizona, and we'd actually have dust storms when we'd be out in the desert shooting. But I knew both those guns. I could have guessed. I knew you were going to go with the now Arsenal or Rifle Dynamics or Arsenal. Which one?
Rifle Dynamic. It was an Arsenal, but I took it to Rifle Dynamics. I sent it to Rifle Dynamics to get customized. Yeah.
Yep. Fuller does good work, and yes, so I imagined it was going to be the Rifle Dynamics AK. I was thinking it was the 74, not the 47. A little disappointed there. And then
live.
Be an HK handgun.
Fair enough. All right, next scenario: LA riots. We are the Koreans. Well, you're not Korean, and neither am I. But we are for all intents and purposes, we are the Koreans standing on the roof dealing with potential rioters. What is your handgun and rifle of choice?
For me, it's going to be, and I lived through the riots too. I mean, I think I'd lived through most of American history based upon
like the writing of the Bible,
or Austrian handgun history. It seems like, but yeah, I mean, I've lived through a lot of it. But in '91, I was going to Arizona State. I wasn't that far away from LA, and it was like real. It was just scary times because it was true breakdown of societal order. National Guards people were there with like one round in their guns if they had any ammunition at all. The cops were nowhere to be seen because they were taking care of their families. This was real recent American history where there was nobody helping you. You needed to help yourself. Yeah. And there were times, some of the terrible stuff that I saw on the news, I kind of was thinking about grabbing my one gun at the time, which was a SIG 228, and going that direction because I just felt like those people needed help. Now, the one population that didn't need help were the Koreans. I think it was partially because those people really did appreciate their Second Amendment rights, their right to arms. And their stores, the ones that didn't get looted, didn't get burned. And it was because they had scary-looking, intimidating guns on the roofs of their buildings.
So I'm wondering, are you going to tell me which gun you choose, or are you going to keep telling me stories like the old man that you are?
Well, because a lot of your young people just don't know what we're talking about here. I was giving them a little bit of history. And so, the one gun that I remember being most prominent was the MP5. Those guys loved their MP5s. Now, unfortunately, I can't report that I have an MP5. I had a chance to buy one for $2,000 on fire in 1992, and I didn't buy it from a gun show in Phoenix. But it would be, for me, the most intimidating gun would be my FNFAL, the one that I think you might have reviewed.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
It's just a gun that you shouldn't ever have to fire. But if somebody sees it, they know they need to go another direction.
Yeah. I would have to. Yeah, that was a good choice. That was a very good choice.
I thought you were going to be impressed by that one, actually. Yeah. I thought that was going to be the one that got you.
I'm going to kind of trump you a little bit, though.
Well, and then maybe just, going back to the basics, maybe a Smith & Wesson Model 29 for the handgun, just because that's what Dirty Harry used in L.A. You know what? People get it.
Yeah, okay. Because there is a little bit of an intimidation factor that you want to have, that you want your gun to have in that situation, because you don't want to have to shoot it. Sure. You just want to let them know.
Zombies, end of world, different story. But this is LA riots. Hopefully people just making mistakes out there in the streets.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with the HK91.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, you might have trumped me on that one. That might be the only gun that does. And actually, I do remember seeing images of the HK91 or 93, whichever one. 91's 308, right?
Yeah, that's a 308. I think the 51 is a 5.56. Right. I can't remember the 93, I think is the... No, I can't remember 93, yeah. But 91 is a 308.
So, I think both those guns are very similar in stature when it comes to just that deterrent effect. Like, hey, there's an easier building to burn down the street. That guy's looking pretty serious up there. Yes, and that was really, a great example. Again, getting a little political here, though, is when the antis talk about, citizens really don't use guns for self-defense because only 350 people are killed every year by citizens using their guns. They're only looking at a body count.
Yeah.
Of course, the idea of self-defense using firearms is never to have to fire your gun if you can avoid it, right?
Yep.
And in 99% of the cases, that's exactly what happens. Yeah. So the antis are discounting that huge number of lives saved, property saved, injuries prevented by the citizen never having to fire his gun and exercising that restraint.
Now, hold on, Darren. Hold on. I gotta cut you short, man, because we ran over. We were supposed to be going to break a long time ago. We were having too much fun. So appreciate it. We're gonna have to finish this conversation because I think there's still a couple more scenarios that I want to talk about later on. So later on in the week, you gonna join us?
Next time, buddy. Of course.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Yeah.